We all have a fond memory of our Independence Day at school. Half day, hoisting flag during the ceremony, and then getting a fruity or samosa at the end. But as we celebrate the dawn of our independence, it is also important to not forget the dark times of dependence and servitude. Now, we know there are many reasons for India's independence, and we know the major events and also about the non-violent freedom struggle. But I will talk about not only the factors in India, but all the global political and economic factors that were also important for our independence. So, let us unfold the journey of how some crucial factors were responsible for the freedom of our country, lives, and destiny. The East India Company of Britain came to India in 1600 to do trading since goods made in India had a great demand in the world. Silk, spices, and its abundant resources made India a Sone ki chidiya or the golden sparrow for the world. India's share of the world economy at that time was 23%. Can you imagine? That is almost one fourth of the world economy was because of India. Till 1800, the East India Company had gradually increased its territorial, military, and political presence in India by using the carrot and stick approach with the many princely states. Carrot and stick, bribe or battle. With their ever increasing footprint on Indian soil and growing resentment against their policies, there was unrest in many parts of the country. Mangal Pandey revolted, and his execution culminated in the uprising of 1857. Many princely states joined, but the Britishers, with their superior industrial ammunitions and backdoor policies with the other princely states, managed to crush the uprising brutally. And since India was such an important colony for them, they replaced the East India Company from administration, and India came under the rule of the British Crown. The one thing that you need to remember about the early phase is the exploitative economic policies that were imposed on us. Since we were under their rule, we had to buy from them at their price the goods that we made and at the end also pay high taxes. From 1857 to 1919, many political parties and unions formed which wanted Purna Swaraj or complete self rule. When the climax for the independence of India reached its pinnacle in 1914, what happened? World War. Now we know it as World War I because we know another happened 20 years later. But back then, it was believed that this will be the last war, the war to end all wars. India's perception at that time was that after the war, colonialism will end, and that if they help the British in this war effort, they will grant us independence as a kind return. But in 1918, when the war got over, the Allied power, of which UK was part of, won and got reparations of $400 billion in today's money from the losing Central Power countries. This meant that they were not going to leave India that easily, since they had a lot of military power to hold control. And our help, where 54,000 Indians lost their lives and Indian taxpayers had to pay £100 million in that time's money, was never recognized. And when the Britishers didn't accept our demand for freedom, many different ways were tried out. But the one that stood out was by Mahatma Gandhi. His non-violent ways of protest were the first of its kind. He also introduced the Swadeshi movement to boycott British goods, but to also instill the feeling of self-reliance. This period from 1919 to 1939 was marked with many movements and protests to the atrocious laws. You might remember the Rowlatt Act of 1919, which gave the British government the power to arrest any Indian without any trial. The protest for which led to the tragic event of Jallianwala Bagh, where 1,200 people, including children, lost their lives. The Dandi March, the non-cooperation movement, the civil disobedience movement were the major protests during this time for the barbaric British laws. This was the first factor. Now, things will be changing on the global level at a fast pace. In 1939, when Germany attacked Poland and World War II started, the British also entered the war and had tremendous losses due to bombardment of their major cities. And again, they needed our help, which India gave, but also reminded them that this will be the last time. After the war, no more British rule. Japan, one of the rival countries of Britain in the war, had advanced till Burma or present day Myanmar and could have toppled the British Empire in India. And so Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose joined them with his army of Indians to make sure that no stones are left unturned. And in 1945, when the World War II got over, the final scene started. The final factor which worked in our favor for finally the Britishers handing over India was the Conservative Party, who never wanted to give us freedom, led by Winston Churchill, lost in the British parliamentary elections of 1945 to the Labour Party, who were supportive of India's plea for freedom and hence started the final process towards independence. And on 15th of August 1947, India awoke to freedom. In the last 74 years, India has shown the world its true potential, becoming the sixth largest economy in the world and moving at a fast pace towards becoming a global superpower. But many of our Indians are still grappling with the same issues that they faced before independence. Issues like poverty, hunger, and lack of education. And we Indians need to do something about it. Starting from now, we have one whole year to remember, respect, and reflect the struggle of 200 years, the sweat and blood and countless sacrifices of our fellow Indians. Happy Independence Day.